Hello there, YouTube, and welcome to another cat stream. But as the title actually implies, how long will we actually be able to carry on doing this stream? Now, there's nothing going on in general in my life that makes me want to stop. But that's a story for later on in the stream, I think we'll get to. First of all, as you can see, I'm here with my normal co-host. I'm here with Mr. Roger. How are you doing, sir?
Transformers Unite. Yes, very good. Very good. Good to see y'all. I've been watching this thing on Netflix about the toys we grew up with, and it's pretty interesting. You would never imagine the guy that's the voice for Optimus Prime. You would never, when you see him and even hear him, it's like, it's amazing. So that tie-in for me.
He's quite a big white guy, isn't he?
He's a white dude. Yep. He's got the same kind of chins you and I do have, only I have the beard to hide mine. And you know, he's not
Winnie the Pooh and Parthenax as well.
Not Winnie the Pooh, but Eeyore. Wow, you know your stuff.
Little bit.
Not Winnie the Pooh, but Eeyore. That's, most people would not have known that. He was the ho-hum Eeyore. Yeah, but he was something else. Yeah, and the only thing to say, the reason I'm saying that is because I'm amazed I'm still here. It's so good to be here. 5 of you all here. Go out, tell your friends. We got a good show lined up here today, and that's all I got to say in my intro.
Yeah, no, we've actually got a really good show for everybody today. We've got some really decent stories. We've got one decent story to begin with, which is to do with, unfortunately, a suicide, unfortunately. But it's a case of these people's stories need to be told, and we need to find out the reasons why people that are in positions of power or celebritydom or that type of ethos, why they have the type of feelings they do. Because people like us, as common folk, would do almost anything to get into the same sort of realms as these people.
Yeah.
But yeah, people that are in that position don't see where they are or see what their station is. And then it's all a case of you haven't lived somebody's life until you've walked a day in their shoes.
Yes, but they're dropping off like flies. I mean, it's true what you're saying. It seems like these rich and famous people. For those Britons that are among us today, oh, by the way, hail, Captain Copile, hail, Lord Quinn, hello, Sardonic7, good to see all of you first ones here. Go tell your friends, tell your enemies, join us today. Yeah, it's hard for me to understand. I'm not going to even entertain any kind of conspiracy theory on this. I believe what has happened is Anthony Bourdain, and once again, before I just carry on here, let me explain who he is, because I asked you, Common Sense, and you didn't know who he was. Yeah, you didn't know who he was. So I'm just assuming this is for anybody that hasn't heard of a show called Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmer, or No Reservations with Bourdain. These are the 2 main guys on the Food Channel. You know, if you ever watch the Food Channel, they pretty much are Mr. and Mrs. Food Channel. I only say that because Andrew Zimmer is, I think he's gay. He may not be. But anyway, I just want to piggyback. Before I read this, I want everyone to please hone in on what Common Sense Guy just said. When I shared this story, if I may, Common Sense, I'm just going to relay the question you asked me. You know, the Common Sense, the first thing he said was, why the suicide? And he even came back because I was busy and I didn't get right back. He was like, I'm not being sarcastic. Why? You know, and my answer was, why? Who knows why a man commits suicide? I just want to tell everyone listening to us, I don't take this lightly. This is my Telford. You know, as far as Common Sense Guys, Telford, this is my Telford. Suicide is a horrible thing. I remember, I don't want to mention the name because it's just left and people think I'm dogging them, but there was just I'll say it's the Morning Kumite. And they had this warning down there. And everyone probably remembers I was very butthurt over it, very incensed over that. If you've been hurt by internet blood sports, please call this number. I called the number to see because I thought I recognized it. It was a suicide hotline. I do not think we shouldn't take it lightly. So here we go. Thank you very much, Common Sense Guy, for allowing me that humongous opener and for all the stories that you've gotten us today. This comes from the Daily Mail. I'm beyond devastated. Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend, Asa Argento, breaks her silence after 61-year-old chef's shock suicide. And Asian Argento says she's devastated after the unexpected death of her boyfriend, Anthony Bourdain, who was found dead from a suicide on Friday. In a statement posted on Twitter, the actress, 42, remembered the 61-year-old celebrity chef as brilliant and her protector. Now, I want you to keep this in mind, folks. I'm not going to break in and editorialize a lot, but just see these numbers. This was a gentleman that was very wealthy, that was very well known, that was 61 years old with a 42-year-old wife. He had a wife younger than mine. So all these things that we tell ourselves will make us happy. Anthony gave all of himself, and everything that he did, his brilliant, fearless spirit touched and inspired so many. And his generosity knew no bounds. He was my love, my rock, my protector. I am beyond devastated. My thoughts are with his family. I would ask that you respect their privacy and mine, Argento wrote. Now, I could read a lot of this, but I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time in this story. I just once again thank Common Sense for even bringing this yank thing up, this thing that's so dear to my heart. Just remember this, folks. He was on location in France shooting a show that was very popular. And probably because he joked about it with his friends, he did something. Listen, before I kick this off to you, Kai, and again, I don't know how much time we'll take on this. I don't know what you think about this. We're going to find out here shortly, though, folks. I want to hear what Common Sense thinks about this. We have not really discussed this in depth before, and I want to hear his take on this. I'm sure it'll be wise. But look, if someone around you is hurting, if they make jokes about suicide, if they make threats about it, this is something, my friends, my beloved friends, that we should never take lightly. Don't institutionalize someone. Don't try to get them locked up, but tell that person you love them. Tell other people, tell them too. Don't go behind their back, but tell them, listen, I can't not tell your wife, mate. And you'll hear, oh, you're going to tell my wife you're not loyal. All these, some ploys I use at times. And look, I said I'm not going to go long. Don't take suicide lightly, because you could be Anthony Bourdain on top of the world, millionaire with everything at your feet, a 42-year-old wife when you're 61. Beautiful too. I've seen her. She's beautiful. Everything. And it doesn't matter. Your personal hell, my friends, is your personal hell. And in closing, I want you all to know that I feel for everyone's pain, and I understand that your pain hurts you as much as mine does me, no matter if you're richer than me, better looking than me, or what you are. Thank you, guys.
No, I'm actually very, very similar to you when it comes to this type of thing. I'm very, very similar. To the point where I really want to help most people. I don't like it when people feel down about themselves. I don't like it when people can't see the life that they have in front of them. The pathway that may be hard to travel, but it is achievable. It's a case of just because that some people would look at this gentleman and go, well, he's got everything I've ever wanted, but yet he still was selfish enough to do this. Now, the reason why I say that word is because that's what everybody would use to describe this. The point is, that's not selfish. It's the point of when you get to that point, you can't think about anybody else that's in that place. You can't think about anybody else that's in your way or a part of you. When you get to that point, and I'm sure some people have got close to that point and can relate to it at least, you do actually feel completely lost. You feel that that is the only way out. But the only thing that can actually take you away from that is exactly what Ogre has actually just said. And that is a case of just having somebody put their arm around you and going, do you fancy a pint? Do you fancy a coffee? Let's go out and let's play a game of pool tonight. Let's do something. Those are those little bits and pieces that actually can change the way that a person feels. The way that their life can change. Yes, everybody has aspects in their lives that people and places don't like. But it's a case of how we live in the spaces that we get. By that, I mean the time that we have free. It's how we live and how we choose. If we're completely lonely, if we completely destroy ourselves in those times when we are alone, then it doesn't matter how many people come to chat to us at work, how many people that come to chat at us at a school. We feel that they are meant to. They have to. It's part of their job. The ones that really matter are the ones that are your friends that can come round and just go, "What are you doing today, mate? Oh, you're playing on a computer. Oh, I'll come out. I'll play a game of FIFA, or I'll do whatever." Those simple acts. You don't even have to talk about any issues that are even there, but those simple acts are game changers when it comes to anybody that's either had any sort of form of trauma or any sort of form of depression, because you're making them feel normal. And that's the way that you need to go about it.
In fact, game changers is really a light word. I love that word, but it's really a light phrase. They are fate changers.
Yes.
Because when you, as you so eloquently said, when you put your arm around your friend, you say, "Hey, mate, do you fancy a pint? Do you fancy an espresso? You know, would you like to go out stepping with your mate today?" And of course, not in this kind of low down way that Common Sense Guy and I just did, but you know how you talk with your mates when it's not a serious topic like this. These are the things that can change death to life. We, and Lord forgive me for speaking like a human, but we can be as gods, giving life to those who would otherwise not have it. Why would a man not reach out life and hand life to another human being? So remember Common Sense Guy's words. It's the little things that you think are small that are actually fate changers. They can change, they can make the outcome, because you never know. That person that you offer a pint, an espresso, a bit of time at the club, a bit of going out and looking at women at the park, whatever it is that you do, the things that you offer this human being could save their life while you have fun. And so that's my final word on this comment, since we got so many good stories. So I'm going to let you have the last say as usual, sir.
No worries. I appreciate that. It literally is true what Ogre says. You are literally saving their life. But the thing is, you're not just saving their lives, you're actually saving everybody that is connected with them. Because when one person goes, it's not that one person that goes. There is a chain reaction that happens with that point. It's like what the old Chinese proverb is: if you throw a pebble into a water, watch the ripple go to the edge of the pond. Because it will. No matter what actions that you decide to do today, whether it be shouting at that person that cut you up in a drive-through, or not shouting at that person or anything else like that, even letting that person come in could have an adverse effect on that person. Rather than that person going to work and shouting at poor little Kimberly that it's her first day at work or whatever, he then tries to help her because you let him out. He wasn't in a bad mood. His mood went away. Those little things have chain reactions and can have a grand impact on everything. A simple little butterfly effect.
There you go. That's fact. You just stole my thunder. Because as I go on to this next story, that's what I was going to say is what you're talking about. It's the butterfly effect. So let's think. We have two stories here. Again, thank you so much, Common Sense Guy. First one coming from the Telegraph that tie into each other. There's this whole thing going down right now in the United States, Spygate. So without any further ado, I shall begin to read this story once again from the Telegraph, and we will get common sense commentary. Barack Obama approved tapping Angela, whatever her name is, Merkel's phone 3 years ago. President Barack Obama was told about monitoring of German Chancellor in 2010 and allowed it to continue, says German newspaper. President Barack Obama was dragged into the transatlantic spying row after it was claimed he personally authorized the monitoring of Angela Merkel's phone 3 years ago. The president allegedly allowed U.S. intelligence to listen to calls from the German chancellor mobile phone.
Treason, by the way.
Oh my Lord, it's It's horrible. It's espionage for sure. It's Chancellor's mobile phone after he was briefed on the operation by Keith Alexander, director of the National Security Agency, NSA, in 2010. The latest claim reported in the German newspaper Bild am Sonntag followed reports in Der Spiegel that the surveillance of Ms. Merkel's phone began as long ago as 2002 when she was still the opposition leader, 3 years before being elected chancellor. The monitoring only ended in the weeks before Mr. Obama visited Berlin in June this year, the magazine added. Citing leaked U.S. intelligence documents, it also reported that America conducted eavesdropping operations on the German government from a listening post at its embassy beside the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, one of more than 80 such sentries worldwide. This is the last paragraph I believe I'll read. Common sense, unless you need more. The Obama's European allies will now ask him to say what he personally knew about the NSA's global eavesdropping operation and its targeting of world leaders, including those from friendly states. The White House declined to comment on the German media reports. Oh, God, I wasn't screen sharing that. Sorry, folks. I will next time.
Yeah, that in itself is just... Where do you go with that? It's a case of you literally have supposedly, and yes, I'm going to be a little bit biased on this because I don't think he was good for America at all, but that's my opinion. But I'm going to be a little bit biased here. You have supposedly the Democratic's savior. You have the Jesus himself actually going against everything that he supposedly was actually supposed to be looking after, you know, democracy, freedom, choice, and everything else like that, supposedly being able to defend that. But yet, time after time, he's been caught, and I'll use that in inverted air commas for the moment, he's been caught spying on different countries. The fact that he and Hillary Clinton or the Clinton Foundation themselves have been alluded to spying on Donald Trump as well. Where does it end? Is this just the tip of an iceberg? Or is this just one thing that's just come out? Or is this just a one-time thing? Or is this even fake? It doesn't actually seem that it's fake if you have the ideas that you're going to be tapping phones of presidential candidates as well. So what would be the difference from doing it to a presidential candidate to doing it to somebody that you consider an opposition leader?
Well, I would say I do agree with you, too. The premise is excellent, but I'm going to say this. This is much worse common sense. I mean, it's bad enough when you're inside your own country and you're spying on. Yes, and that's horrible. I mean, that's in the news right now, left and right. But this, I mean, holy shit. I know that you have no love for your prime minister. But how would you really feel if Donald Trump was tapping her cell phone? Would you think that was okay?
No, of course not. I don't think anybody should tap my phone.
No, and in fact, and no one should tap our phones. No, but I've got to say it. There is a perceived need for security amongst our leaders, even above ourselves. Now, that said, we should all feel safe and secure in our person, property, effects, and papers, but we don't always. But this whole thing, look, when you allow someone to say, am from this particular protected group, therefore you cannot critique me. This is what you get, common sense. This is what you get. This guy for years. Oh, if you don't agree with him, you're racist. Look, he's half white, not half black. If you want to go that way, he's half white. This was the worst president we have had since George Bush the first, the elder. And then his son was, I mean, oh man, I'm gonna ramble because this is smokescreen. The whole thing is smokescreen. Look at how good I look when I'm sitting up here reading my teleprompter, and look at my big old monkey ears. Don't pay any attention to the fact that I am right now wiretapping Angela Merkel for no apparent reason. You know, it's bullshit. It's just bullshit.
No, I completely and utterly agree with you, Ogre. I actually really do completely and utterly agree with you, which is not a common thing that actually happens with us, believe it or not. But I absolutely, completely and utterly agree with you to the point of where you would actually classify spying on a presidential candidate, you would classify that as treasonous. And what you have just said, wouldn't that be a declaration of war? By
War, yeah.
absolutely spying on a different country to try and
Tapping
find
their
out what
actual
that country is
phone.
going to do to try and get a leg up. And if he's doing it to Germany, which is supposedly one of the biggest and most powerful countries in the European Union, what other countries in the European Union was it trying to
Every one of them.
tap?
Everyone. If he did it to Angela Merkel, the second strongest in the EU after British Empire, then he did it to everyone. And if you don't believe that, well, I've got a bridge to sell you in London, very cheap.
Yep. No, I mean that's the point of the story. It's such a the point of the story is the fact that it's such a person that's been held up. Remember, this guy fucking won the Nobel Peace Prize.
There, she's sick.
This person won the Nobel Peace Prize, but yet is now being proven, and obviously not yet, but he will do. I can guarantee that he will be proven to have done this, and this will be the second time that his involvement, whether it be directly or indirectly while he was president, would be to tapping on either his own citizens or the citizens of his loyal friends, so to speak, or friends in international communities. And yes, that's just abhorrent. That's a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
His allies. And I've got to say this, common sense. You know what they do, mate. Okay. You and I come to London, which you live outside of. I'm not doxing anybody. London's a big place, so don't try to look him up, you faggots. So I go to London, and you're like, hey, mate, you rent the vehicle, I'll drive because you're used to driving on the wrong side of the road. Yeah, okay. So we go out, we rent a vehicle, we go out, we go to the pubs, unfortunately. And then they catch us later with, and I'm using you for example, with you driving. What do they always say, mate, when they catch you and you're up there and you're saying, hey, I got a little drunk today because my friends here from my Yank friends here from the States, and we went out to have a few, and this is what do they always say? No, if we caught you this time, you must have done it a dozen times every month.
Or you will do it again.
And you will, but they're not saying that about this situation. If we've caught him, and I agree with you, let's be fair. Thank you, common sense, too, because I'm ready to put the noose around this guy. No lynching. Well, that didn't sound good. I'm ready to hang the. No, whatever. I'm not happy with him. But the fact of the matter is, all I see is accusations right now. No one has come out and said, here is the evidence. Barack Hussein Obama signed his John Hancock to this order to tap the phones. I will say this, though. Anybody that doesn't believe that this was a corrupt administration, look at Loretta Lynch on the tarmac with Bill Clinton. Just look at it. This was Eric Holder was the most corrupt. I'm done. I really am done. That's my last word. If they say it to us, common sense, that if you did it this once, and you probably never drunk and drive in your life, and if that happened, they would be saying that. We'd be standing there in front of the judge, and they'd be like, you did it 1,000,000 times. Why they're not doing it now?
To be fair, I probably did, but without going into that, it's still the case, as you quite rightly just eloquently put. If Obama is found of doing this, or even knowledge of doing this, remember he's commander-in-chief, and yes, I know people will go, but that doesn't mean he knows everything. No. But there's a specific reason why the NSA would be going after Angela Merkel and Germany. There was a specific reason for that.
Yes.
They need a specific reason, which means that they need a directive to go after. Not unless they thought that she was going to be the next Hitler. I mean, you look at her policies and maybe. But if you're trying to be on the actual up and up and actually be sensible about it, she technically really hasn't done anything to hinder America. So why would America be trying to follow and try to tap her and trying to make sure that they know what she's doing at all times and what the governments are doing at all times?
Corruption.
Governments that do that are generally ones that are trying to be an authoritarian version of a government.
Yeah. Yes.
Then they're not trying to actually be, well, let's let democracy decide what's going on, or the illusion of democracy, depending on your ideology of that. But let's let that go on. But no, the authoritarianness of America, the land of the free, the United Kingdom that was supposedly the ones that created it, and now the EU, which, well, let's be honest, that was just brought up on fucking corruption. But you look at the way that the United Kingdom, you look at the way that the land of the free, the US, are conducting themselves on the international stage that people are trying to prove or allude to.
Disgusting.
Then the EU actually looks like a better prospect. I wonder if this is timed for a particular reason.
Oh, to make you feel like it might be better to be part of the EU, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, that's brilliant. I didn't even think of that. But that's a brilliant observation. So in other words, they want people to feel like you made the wrong choice because you look at what your country does is so horrible. You should be part of the warm embrace of the muzzy-loving EU that wants to sell your children down the river to rape gangs.
Yep, and yet they will try to frame it as the point of, well, the land of the free was tapping one of our prominent leaders. I wonder what information they've got. How much would they know about your information? They've got Facebook. They've got all these American companies, media companies that won't let us be able to collect your data or anything else like that, or make sure it's safe. These are the people you need to worry about, not us, not the ones that are actually censoring you off of the internet or putting you in prison for telling jokes about the Turkish prime minister. Nothing to do with them.
Nothing to do with them at all. Well, we have to learn to keep our eyes on politicians, and that goes for me doubly because, you know, of course, I'm caught up in this thing that happened with Donald Trump, and I'm all a Trump backer, and I'm supporting Trump, and I've got Trump buttons on my hat and on my jacket. And the next thing I know, he bombs Syria on bullshit information, which he said he would never do. He called out other politicians when he wasn't one. Well, and then I look, and Trump had the ability to release everything we know about Bobby Kennedy's assassination and John F. Kennedy's assassination, and said he was going to do it, and then suddenly didn't. Listen, common sense. I honestly believe this goes back to Bill Hicks is the first person I ever heard say this. Mm-hmm. But what happens is somebody like Donald Trump comes along and they say, oh, I run for president, I've been elected, now I'm going to do what I want to do. Well, 2 weeks in, they're having a special lunch and showing him some facets of the Situation Room, you know, down underground, the war room. Mm-hmm. And he goes down there and all of a sudden he looks around, he's in an enclosed steel capsule, 800, I don't know how deep it is, deep underground. And then they say, Mr. President, would you please look at the wall there, right there? And they project Kennedy, not in a limousine, but in a room somewhere with a gun to his head. Bam! Brains on the wall. And then they look at him and say, we know who killed President Kennedy, Mr. Trump. You will be next. And what else could it be? I mean, why do these people change their minds? Why do we have all of this strange espionage going on? It's so reminiscent of the Gestapo. It's so reminiscent of the Third Reich and of their police state, where we say, we trust you and you're our allies. And you already pointed out common sense. You're our allies. But, and I'm going to apologize too, folks. Today's stories, we might agree a lot. We'll get back to getting at each other's throat on Monday or sometime. But today, but so now we say, oh, but we're still going to watch you. No, Mrs. Merkel, as much as I abhor this this West Asian loving person, I've got to remember common sense. I need to keep off that because that's the new N word. And I don't want people to be able to tear apart our arguments based on a word that we used. And yes, I love all of you. And there's been people that said it, that we censor. But hey, look, if common sense guy censors, it's because he censors. If I censor, it's because I censor. No one is forcing us. And it's just we have to be wise. So look, I would ramble on more. I'm going to once again, thank you for letting me do that little ramble, because this incenses me. Barack Obama is not God, as you said. He is not the second coming of Christ, as you mentioned earlier. He's nothing but a man. He is not even this whole thing about our first black president, whatever. He's our first half white president, whatever, like as I said before. So I'm going to leave it at that and say that we do have another story that ties into this. Let's have common sense bring some sense back to this as our final.
Well, I'm actually going to go into a further debacle of conspiracy theories to the actual point. Not that I want it to be a Wednesday, but it's just a way that it just kind of falls into place, to be fair. It's the fact that you had Vox, and we all know who Vox is, that have done an actual video to come out and go that there is no such thing as Spygate. And obviously Donald Trump was the one who said that this is a Spygate, so to speak, which I think was quite ingenious, to be fair. But they've already come out and they're already trying to denounce it because it's Barack Obama. Not that they want to investigate it or find out the truth.
Nope.
Nah, it didn't happen. Didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
And that's where the difference is. Where one president, because of his political views, and it is due to because he's running as a Republican, because he's a Republican at this moment in time, he is being absolutely persecuted by a particular side, where when the other side's in, when the Democrats are in, yeah, they're persecuted, but they're not personally persecuted. Their policies are. Where when the Republicans are in, for some reason and somehow, it's down to personalities most of the time. Sometimes, yes, they have proper reasons, and obviously they do. It's the same thing for the Conservatives. I had a lot of bad stuff to go on the Conservatives, but I don't particularly want to call them out too much because then that gives them gives Labour a way of coming back in. So yes, you could say that I'm a little bit against my principles on that one, but I feel that I'm having the lesser of two evils. I hate that fucking word.
Well, but not against your principles, common sense. I often say this too, and it's been misunderstood out of my mouth, but let me say this very, very succinctly right now. The oak tree is mighty, stands mighty here in northern Michigan. It is a massive tree, strong as an oak is what we say. But if you put that oak tree in Okinawa, it will not last. The palm tree, however, I have witnessed in Florida bending, and it's the top of a 50-foot, a 20-meter palm tree, bending over, and the top of it whipping the ground, and it's just flopping like a noodle and whipping the ground. After the hurricane, that tree stands. The oak tree will never make it. So when we think about our principles, they should be firm. Very firm, as that palm tree is very firm, but they should be flexible. So I hope that's understandable to everyone. I don't want to waffle. The common sense guy, I don't want you to waffle. I want to be firm in what we believe, but you have to, as you said, it may sound sometimes as though a person is going against their principles to actually stand up for them.
Yeah,
that's it.
I don't have too much to say on that.
All right, let's go. Yeah, let's go then. We got another wonderful one, and it ties in so good from this last story.
Don't forget to screen share.
Oh, thank you, brother, thank you. Because it's Angela. No, I wouldn't have either. Because it's Angela Merkel. Yeah, I guess I'm just not on my game. I've had a couple days off, folks, and did not feel really great those days. But I'm not going to burden you with that. So thanks again, Common Sense. Thank you so much, Daily Mail. This is by Reuters and Julian Robertson for Mail Online. Angela Merkel is accused of importing Islamists, rapists, murderers, and terrorists, and faces calls to resign as she's questioned by new nationalist opposition in German parliament for the first time. Now, I'm going to get into this without a lot of comment, but I just want to point out that the things we were talking about before ties in so good because the media that defended her against these things is now saying this happened. It wasn't too long ago that if you even said any of these things, you were Islamophobic, you were homophobic, you were some kind of phobic. So here we finally get some kind of truth. Angela Merkel has been accused of importing Islamicists, rapists, murderers, terrorists, and she was questioned by, okay, I'm going to get down here into the actual story sometime. Miss Merkel I guess that's it. Sorry, this is just bullet points, folks. Bullet points. So let me just. I'm gonna have to do it again. So, the German chancellor also faced calls to resign as she came under pressure over her open door policy on migration that saw hundreds of thousands of refugees entering the country in 2015.
Before we carry on, remember that this policy that she decided to do in 2015 is now no longer in play and is no longer actually active due to her actually saying, Angela Merkel, actually saying that it is not a viable option. We cannot take anymore. Just so everybody remembers that that's her words.
For some reason, they're trying to throw her under the bus right now, aren't they? Common sense. And I don't love this woman, but I do hate to see this happening. Good point. So here we go. The German Chancellor also resigned to pressure. Gottfried Curio, a member of the opposition Alternative for Germany, or AFD, hit out at the 63-year-old for causing the country the most, quote, the most serious harm and future cost of hundreds of billions. Chancellors have not previously interacted directly with MPs in the same way British prime ministers do at their weekly question time. Miss Merkel will now face questions 3 times a year, though some opposition lawmakers say the format is too inflexible. So at Wednesdays, and this goes on, Common Sense, and I will read as much as you want, but I've read through this. It's a lot of the same. The big thing is right here in the headline.
Yeah.
What do we, and before I turn it over to you for your primary input, what do we have to see? Why is it that when this was happening in 2015, there were many people saying, you can't do this. This is insane. And as I mentioned before, it was called out as being Islamophobic or whatever the phobic that they said it was. Now they're turning the tables. What does it have to take when common sense is just a given? When you can't deny the fact that if you take in a bunch of people that say they hate you, want you to die, by the way, that it's not going to turn out to be a good thing. And one more thing, and how seriously should we take this now? Did they not know common sense? Did the Daily Mail and every other reporter not know this was happening when it happened? So yes, now how much creed can we give to this?
Yeah, of course they did. Of course they knew. They knew exactly what was going to be happening. The reason why they knew what was going to be happening is because they're not stupid people. They just choose not to actually follow what's going on. After all, most nations have control, at least of a fair faction of what they can and cannot say. So if the government in itself is actually coming out and going, well, we're strong, we're stable, and yes, I'm using those words on purpose. Yes, we're strong, we're stable, but we're able to do what we want, so to speak. Then most of the news organizations are not going to say anything. But if we're weak and we're flopping and we don't have the backing and we're being ridiculed while we're in Parliament as well, then we're going to start producing some stories where we're going to be able to put our own point of views across, where we're actually going to be able to tell the story rather than worrying about what Merkel might do, what Theresa May might do, what Jeremy Corbyn might do, what Barack Obama might do, what Donald Trump might do, what I might do. But those are the actual points. That is the point. The fact that it doesn't matter what country you're in. Normally, the nation controls the media. And in this point, it was the case that it was the narrative of the European Union to be completely and utterly open to the idea of immigration and free travel and free movement. But now they've noticed something coming up that is now taking the populist movement. And populist movement just means popular at the time, which at this moment in time is a little bit more of a civic nationalism or a form of nationalism. Generally, we actually need to make sure that we look after our borders before we can look after anybody else. The case of we need to look after our own structures, our own pillars, so to speak, to make sure that we actually have a foundation for people to come and work. Because at the moment, we can't do that. So you've got places like Austria, you've got places like Holland, you've got places like Croatia, you've got places like Czechoslovakia, you've got places like Slovenia, you've got places like Italy. Yeah, you've got those type of countries at this moment in time that have actually started to vote in more of a nationalistic type of people into power. And they're wondering why they're all trying to push away from the European Union, while they're all trying to negate the idea of being able to have immigration, to the point where you have Hungary, Romania, and Czech Republic that are actually going to court at this moment in time because they won't take in immigration. You also have Romania itself that are being threatened with sanctions. Basically, what that means is that they're actually going to threaten them with the fact that what money that they're supposed to subsidize to Romania, that being part of the EU, they're going to withdraw the subsidy for it. So in other words, they see no benefits for being in European Union, and they wonder why that they want to leave. I don't know why.
All right, just a little bit. Great point, but just a little bit of comic relief here. Mein Führer. This guy. I just noticed we have someone that I haven't noticed out here before, bearing the brunt. And I've got to say that is one of the best usernames that I've seen. I actually love that. I don't know if you get a lot of compliments on that, bearing the brunt, but I dig the shit out of that. So welcome. If I haven't noticed you before, it's because I don't usually give a fuck about you, but now I do. So good to see you here. Common Sense Guy welcomes you and loves the fact that you're here. He would like it even more if you hit that like button and subscribe. So good to have you here. And yes, Common Sense, I have no final word on this. I've said everything that I had to say about Angela Merkel at the beginning. I guess if I just had to give a few words, which I feel like it's incumbent upon me to do at this point, it would be this. We all have our own sovereignty. When we're talking about rulers of countries, especially elected rulers, which the vast majority right now are elected rulers, we're talking about something that is so sacrosanct that it should not be violated by anyone. When you put someone in a position, and look, I've seen so many times, being a youth minister and a pastor, I've seen so many times it's been, Ogre, we're coming to you. Pastor Ogre, we're coming to you. We have a problem with little Johnny. Oh, okay. Could I come over? I'd like to come over and have dinner with you 3 nights a week. That was always my thing too. 3 nights a week. And I would pick the nights. I won't tell you why right now. It'd take too long. 3 nights a week. I'd like to do that for a month. And I'd like to get to know you. It's inevitably dinner is when you find out little Johnny's there flicking peas and won't eat. And no one does anything about it. And he's screaming. He's interrupting adults. He's trying to interject himself in these conversations. I solve that problem a lot of times by telling them that even if you have one child, have a child's table, have it in the other room, but where you can kind of look around the corner and see them. That way they know that they're not at the table yet because they haven't earned their place at the table. But common sense, Angela Merkel has earned her place at the table. I said this would be brief, so let me leave it brief. Angela Merkel is an elected official. I also bearing the brunt. I mean, I just mentioned it now 3 times. I can't believe it, but that's my limit. So bearing the brunt. I too am Merkel phobic. I do not like the bitch. I don't like what she's done. But this, look, we don't wiretap. And then now, why is this all coming out? I wonder if maybe Miss Merkel has something that could be good for a country, common sense. Otherwise, I question this. That's it. That really is it. I know that was longer than I was supposed to go.
No, you actually raise a very interesting point. As bad as Merkel has been in general for the whole of Europe, and no, I'm not backpedaling. You'll see where I'm going with this very, very soon. So just wait a second. As bad as Merkel has been for Europe in itself, she's done it through the eyes of an ideology of thinking that maybe she's helping in some way. Now, don't get me wrong, she's not. She's not fucking helping at all. But she herself thinks that she is by opening doors to have more immigrants, more refugees, and inverted air commas for people only listening. She's doing that because she wants to help. What Theresa May is doing in our country she's not doing it through ideology. She's not doing it through a form of conservatism. She's not doing it from the idea of feminism, as
Why is she
bad
doing
as
it?
all as those can be, or the idea of socialism in itself, or social justice, even though all those ideologies are quite stupid and quite wrong. Hers is even worse. Hers is an ideology of a Puritanism, of a Puritan. She just wants to censor because she doesn't want to talk about it, not because she feels it's better or in a good area. She just wants to not talk about something because it makes her uncomfortable, not because it's to do with ideology. And I'd rather support Merkel, even though I know that it's completely wrong and her ideas are wrong. But at least she's doing it because she believes in it, not because she doesn't want to talk about it. And that's
so
the difference
messed up,
between
though.
Theresa May, the appeaser.
Common sense. That's so messed up. You think that's what you think? So let me get this very clear, because maybe we can disagree on something. So you think that what you just said is a good thing?
Yes, unfortunately.
I do not. I can't see. So, oh man. So let's unpack this a little bit. Just tell me why it would be a good thing.
Because Theresa May in herself is doing it because she doesn't want to talk about something where if you were able to change Merkel's point of view and what her ideas of good are, then you'd be able to get her to be fighting for the good, so to speak.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I kind of so you're okay. So you're not saying that why she's doing it is a good thing. You're just saying that the outcome could be good.
Yes. The fact is that she thinks she's doing good, where Theresa May doesn't care.
Because we're afraid to talk about it, or because we're embarrassed, or whatever. We shouldn't bring people into our country because we're afraid to be called homophobic, which I think is kind of the root of the point here.
Yes.
We shouldn't do that. I mean, this is just, I can't see how it could be good, except that you're saying in this situation, the outcome appears to becoming good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay.
May I just address globalization's in question?
Yeah, I was going to
also a question from that person.
Yeah, and before you do, thank you very much, globalization in question, for joining us. And now Common Sense will tell you why you're correct or incorrect.
Well, it's more of a statement. I also don't agree. Ideologies aren't good because they're ideologies. I wasn't trying to suggest that the ideology that Merkel was coming up with was good. I was saying that she was thinking that she was doing it in good intentions. It's the case of she's not doing it, in our opinion, for the greater good, but it was the idea that she was thinking she was doing it for the good. Where Theresa May is completely different. She's doing it because she doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't want to address it. Just look at her time when she was Home Secretary. Nothing got dealt with.
See, I only agree with that when you say it in the British way that you did. She was thinking. Like she's a think.
Yes,
that's the only way I agree with it. Now she was. If you say Angela Merkel was thinking, no, now I seem like I'm pandering. I'm going to shut up because yes, I mean I'm sitting here. It's sometimes here's the problem with having common sense, not only as your co-host but in your brain, and that is, sometimes people that you don't like, things are happening to them that are not good, and if you have any kind of moral sense, if you have any kind of humane fortitude in your deep bowels, well, then you have to stand up and say, no, you can't do that to Angela Merkel, because if you do it to her, you can do it to all. No. And look, that's all. Honest to God, that's all I got to say. We can't wiretap. Apparently, I do agree. There can be something good come from this horrific situation. But that's it, man. Leave Angela Merkel alone. She's going to kill herself. Sunlight's the best disinfectant.
Exactly. Especially when she's been wiretapped and all her secrets are already hidden away anyway.
Well, that's fucked up, but yes, okay. That's almost like fungus is the best disinfectant, because that's a fungi. You got some kind of fucking. I mean, look, I'm not going there. I have been infiltrated. Maybe why I'm a little nervous now and why I'm a little more standoffish than I should be. But I've been infiltrated and had spies on this tiny little platform. It doesn't feel good, especially when you're like, wow, I didn't have no idea that person was just here to do bad things, and then not anything recent. That's it. I'm not gonna qualify it much more. But common sense, unless you have something else to say, I have another wonderful story here, sir.
I don't really have too much to say. Just a clarification. Mrs. May is an authoritarian, but she doesn't do it under the guise of authoritarianism. She does it under the guise of Puritanism, as in it's not worth talking about. It's not what you do in polite company. A case of remember now that she was the daughter of a pastor. And I don't mean as in somebody like Ogre's case. I mean somebody that was stuck in a church for years and years.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To the point of fire and brimstone type of pastor, preacher, so to speak. So that's why she would adopt that type of idea of Puritanism, as in showing your ankles off or showing your legs off is a bad thing.
Going to hell.
Type of thing. Well, hence why the porno laws have been starting to come into play.
Look, man,
it's a government. It's a Puritan-led government.
I can't even go there. You're porno. And the fucked up thing is your country invented freedom of speech. Invented it. I don't care who. Look at it, and it's gone. It's gone. We invented the Second Amendment as a right. You invented freedom of speech. We invented the freedom of the right to defend yourself. And they're both being gone. But that said, I'm going to cut us off and go now. Once again, thank you so much, Common Sense Guy, for your diligent work. I will humbly apologize to all of our followers and ever-loving watchers that we have out there. We've both been feeling ill on and off for the last week or so. Glad that I'm back here with you, Common Sense. From the Daily Mail. Austria's right-wing government plans to shut down 7 mosques and expel up to 40 foreign-funded imams in crackdown against Islamist ideology. Austria said today it could expect up to 60 Turkish-funded imams and their families. Would expel. I said expect. Would expel. Expel up to 60 Turkish-funded. This is tiny writing, Common Sense. I'm going to have to get a little closer here. I'm going to keep on messing up like that. My eyes are not what they used to be. Let me start again. Austria said today it could expel up to 60 Turkish-funded imams and their families and would shut down 7 mosques as part of a crackdown on political Islam that was described as just the beginning, triggered by fury in Ankara. Chancellor Sebastian Kurz said the government is shutting the hardline Turkish National Mosque in Vienna and dissolving a group called the Arab Religious Community that runs 6 mosques. His coalition government, an alliance of conservatives and far right. Why do they got to put it that way? Common Sense. I'll comment on this later. I'm so sorry. That makes me a little sick. Came to power soon after Europe's. Also, hang on one second. Everybody should read this. Sorry, folks. I've got to get on my game again. I've been off. I've been off a little bit, and I want people.
That's coming through the chat at all?
Pardon me, sir.
Can you hear anything that's coming through the chat at all?
I can see it all there. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
Yes. I haven't been commenting on it much. I see we have globalization in question and bearing the brunt. We have a few people out there commenting I'll let them go. We'll pick out what we want there. So let me get back on my game here. Sorry about that, folks. I'm telling you, man, I will get back up. I'm not going to apologize for this again. I will endeavor to do better. His coalition government, an alliance of conservatives and the far right, came to power soon after Europe's migration crisis on promises to prevent another influx and clamp down on benefits for new immigrants and refugees. In a previous job as minister in charge of integration, Chancellor Kurz oversaw the passing of a tough law on Islam in 2015, which banned foreign funding of religious groups and created a duty for Muslim societies to have a positive, fundamental view towards Austria's state and society. Parallel societies, political Islam, and radicalization have no place in our country, Kurz told a news conference outlining the government's decisions, which were based on that law. This is just the beginning. Far-right Vice Chancellor Heinz Christian I'm trying, folks. These names, if you can't tell, I've looked ahead, but this last name, you're going to have to say that yourself. Added. And this keeps going on down. What's happening here, Common Sense? If you need me to read more, I will. But there's something going on that does not appear to me to be a bad thing. If there's something in particular, or if you'd like me to keep going, I will.
You don't have to keep on going on, though. I think it's, for me, it's on this. The reason why I've titled it the way that I have is even though we all know that probably around about 20% of Muslims could be extremists, or Islam could be extremists, and around about 80% of them still don't even like homosexuality and stuff like that. And those are conservative figures. I'm not even trying to be bad on that. But is it still bad? Apart from obviously banning the foreign money coming in, is it still bad to ban all of those? Is it still wrong to do that in a supposedly free society? And that's the reason why I wanted to pose the question, because even with my levels of skepticism, TM versions of what I would actually dislike about most of the religion of Islam in itself, I still think that they have the right to be in different countries. I don't think that they have the obviously I think that they have the right to be able to be in the countries, but they should also have the right to be able to spread their crap, in my opinion, because as we quite rightly just said a minute ago, sunlight is the best form of disinfectant. Yes. So the more that you have those people in your countries being able to be monitored and understand where they're going, and not having them being censored and going underground, which is why I never understood why governments ban people from saying things, because all it does is make them go underground where they're not monitored anymore.
Well, the only thing I would interject here, Common Sense, is that I agree with you wholeheartedly, except for when we have imams preaching, kill Austrians in Austria, and that these people are infidels, and if they drink, they should die, and they can't eat pork, and trying to change it. No, at that point, it's not that I don't want them to say that. They've already said it. Sunlight has killed it. Now kick them the hell out.
No, I don't know.
No, I mean, that's not the. I mean, what? So what do you do? Well, if you have a group of people in your country, which you do, that are actively, let's leave out Telford kind of thing. Let's say that you have a group of people in your country that are actively stopping a pensioner from drinking a cider on a park bench. You have four young men. Oh, hey, we know this is a zone where we don't allow alcohol here. Some bloke that fought in the island wars there. Why am I not thinking of it? The Falklands. Yeah. But he can't sit. What do we do then? I mean, at some time you have to say that, yes, we've allowed you to speak. Sunlight has hit it. And if a pensioner that has served or anyone, if someone old enough wants to sit in the park and drink a beer, they can do it. If someone wants to have a piece of bacon, they can have it. If someone would like to do whatever it is religiously, there are things that I don't like religiously. Common Sense, I would never ever call you out, ever. I always would say the same thing. I mean, I have my own feelings about class. Pardon me? Oh, is that me? It can't be me. I can't.
What the fuck is that?
That is weird. That is very strange. It's not me. Well, and we're going to go on here, folks. We're Common Sense has figured something out. So I'm not going to just let y'all just listen to dead air, but he'll be back directly. Something's happening. I think possibly we're hitting on some nerves, and maybe the Secret Service is infiltrating us. I mean, we've heard about Angela Merkel being wiretapped, so I'm sure that they can tap Common Sense guy. I'm going to go ahead and look back at a couple of these comments until Common Sense comes back and see if I can't maybe answer some. From Memes of Destruction, if you don't think 25% are classified as extremists, If these folks are under that classification, then perhaps there are a lot of Nazis around. Good point. I really don't have much of a comment on that. Good point there. Beavis Destruction. Globalization in question says they do it where it holds real potency for reform. They allow it when it doesn't threaten the state. It's balance. We've got some other people making some good comments here. Loafer Sheffield says free at Jim Chowdy Day. I don't even know. Give him a room. Oh, there's a common sense guy. Did we figure it out, sir?
I'm down. I'm back. I'm back. I'm alive.
Yeah, and I could have done whatever, folks, but thank you for your comments. Don't think that I don't notice them. If I don't answer them, it's because I'm waiting for a time like that for common sense to have technical difficulties, and then I'll read them. So now you're no longer needed as Angela Merkel. I will now throw you under the bus. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. So where were we at, common sense? If you don't remember, I think I can jog your memory.
Yeah, if you don't mind, if you just can quickly just jog our memory where we were, because that was weird.
Well, we're here in the idea that that people should be able to say what they want to say, and that sunlight should hit these ideas. But I was interjecting the idea that possibly once the ideas are known, if those things are, listen to us, don't eat bacon, don't drink beer in the park, or we'll harass you, these like Sharia law kind of things, or if you prefer, which hasn't been for a while, but these very Puritanian Christian ideals, that at that point sunlight has hit them, and you have two choices to tell them: either don't do that anymore or get out.
Well, okay. Well, I think that we're looking at it in a completely the wrong way. The reason why I think we're looking at it in the wrong way is that if we were able to have the forms of being able to have free dialogue and free discourse with different imams and everything else like that, and people of the religion in itself, then it would be a case of having a reformation. It would be the same way as what Christianity had to do. What a couple of other religions had to do to be able to integrate itself into the actual day and age. Where if you keep on trying to ban stuff, if you keep on trying, even the way that we are at this moment in time, by just letting them get on and thinking that there's nothing wrong and that it'll be fine, they won't try and interfere with anything. They will. It's the case that the political side of Islam is hand in hand with the religious side of Islam. So we need to be able to have an open discourse with them to be able to find out and be able to have an actual reformation, to be able to bring them up to speed and be able to make them integrate into the culture a bit more. Because if you're going to go under the skies of being able to have this multiculturalism, or the idea of having a form of immigration and immigration policy in itself, then people need to be able to integrate, which means I need to respect your beliefs, but you need to respect my beliefs as well. And you don't do that by just having two separate people in separate fenced-off areas. You do it by integrating. Well, and then eventually, just quickly, those two ideas and ideals will merge, and then you won't even know what you're fighting for again.
Oh, excellent point. But you also can't do it by saying that one person can have the right to take offense and the other one group, let's say, has the right to take offense and the other does not. And you know where I'm going with this.
I wasn't saying that.
No. I know you weren't. No. I'm piggybacking here, mate. I'm piggybacking. I'm not disagreeing at all. I'm piggybacking on what you're saying. I'm just saying this is what we have to take from what you said. It's so potent. We can't allow one group, as well as what you said, we can't allow one group to say, "Oh, I feel so bad. It hurts my feelings," and you have to, then we get revving your car in a racial manner. Then we get you go to prison because you said, "Where's the truck of peace?" Then we get Count Dankula and all of us. And I love you, Dank, but I'm gonna tell the truth. It's all I pay for it. I know Dank pays from the money I give him, and you give him, and we all give him. We're all paying now because these bastards did this, and I don't appreciate it. Same thing with look, I'm not going to go on. If I go on now, I'll go to Jordan B. Peterson, and it's. I just heard from you, Common Sense. Just a little plug for you, that I missed something as I was dying in my bed from sinus pain that I would have rather died, but I lived through it. That you had a little talk with Nachi Free.
I did, yeah.
Yes. And I tell you, what an amazing guy, but he's absolutely wrong on almost everything he says. I have no control over that, but he's still a really good guy. I can't wait to see that, mate. I have to say something else since I mocked him. He reminds me of us a lot. There's very few men left on Earth, and I'm going to posit right now that possibly Nachi Free, Common Sense Guy, and myself are men. And what I mean by that, guys that can get together and slap each other's ass in the shower with a wet towel.
Yeah, I'm not going down that road. Definitely not going down that road and slapping up each other's asses with towels. I'm definitely not doing that. But I do understand where you're going with that. Are you having technical problems this time? Oh dear. I'm on my own. Oh well. Well, I suppose I can move on to, well, the next story, I suppose, which I'm actually going to have as a gynecologist, believe it or not. So, if I may, if you give me a couple of seconds, I will move over into the application, and here we go. So, as you can read from here, it is the Daily Mail again. And this time it's a gynecologist who caused a baby to be decapitated during botched birth is cleared to return to work. Now, just before we actually get into the story, just looking at that actual point, and I'm not even bothered about what the person looks like, just in general, gynecologist is supposed to be her profession, as we can see, it's a her, actually caused a decapitation of a baby and has absolutely been able to get cleared back to work. Now, surely, from a humanistic point of view or a moralistic point of view, the doctor or the gynecologist in this instance surely would want to actually take some time off. Otherwise, it would be a case of that person doesn't actually really care. And that being said, I just wanted people to remember that. So let's go down this story, shall we? Oops, that's a bit quick. We don't want that, do we? Yep, my editing skills is going really well, can you tell? So, Dr. Vaishnavi Laxman, 43, should have given the 30-year-old patient an emergency C-section, or cesarean section, sorry, as the premature infant was in breech position. I obviously don't know what that means, but obviously it's a very bad place to actually be. But she instead attempted to carry out the delivery naturally, and tragedy struck. So I suppose what this is actually trying to say at this moment in time, wow, I sounded somebody from Channel 4 then, didn't I? But I suppose, from my understanding, is that the gynecologist, the Dr. Laxman, was supposed to, by protocol, give a cesarean C-section to this patient to be able to save the baby and everything else like that, but didn't. And unfortunately, due to her negligence or bullheadedness, maybe, a poor little baby has died, meaning a family has lost the ability to have a child. And as we were talking about at the beginning of this stream, to do with mental health, can have very long and adturn effects on what's going on. The child was already dead before he was decapitated during the bungled delivery. Well, that doesn't sound good, does it? Doesn't sound good at all. And apparently during all of this time, Dr. Laxman denied wrongdoing, but was found culpable of medical failures. Doesn't that mean that she should have been struck off then? I'm sure that would mean that she would have to have been struck off because of that. So going down, you can see the picture, but I'm not really interested in the picture. I'm more interested in the actual storyline in itself. Apparently my laptop doesn't want to load up the actual story, apparently. We're doing well at the minute. We're doing well. I've lost my co-host. I've lost my story. Can you see everything's going well? to the point where I actually have lost the story. Advertisement. Not interested in the advertisement. This is why my co-host normally does everything, because he has everything set up. Please don't leave me. So that Dr. Laxman, 43, was yesterday found culpable of medical failures after a tribunal revealed she should have given the 30-year-old patient an emergency cesarean section as the premature infant was in breech position at Nine Wells Hospital in Dundee, so in Scotland, obviously. But she instead attempted to carry out the delivery naturally, and tragedy struck. The doctor urged the patient to push, whilst herself applying traction to the baby's legs to the maneuver caused the infant's legs and arms and torso to become detached, leaving the head still in the mother's womb. I'm starting to feel a little bit sick, like generally, and not trying to play to that, but that's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This doctor absolutely destroyed the child in general by basically cutting the legs and arms and torso apart. Yeah, I don't feel great, to be fair. The baby's head was reattached to his body so his mother could hold him before she said goodbye. It is believed the child was already dead before he was decapitated. Well, I imagine he would be, considering that the child had his legs torn apart, his arms torn apart. Yeah, I kind of... Yeah. The tribunal cleared... This is, I'm moving down to what's actually happened. Denied wrongdoing. Today, the services said there was no impairment of Dr. Laxman's fitness to practice and cleared her to return to work at another hospital. This is the reason why I actually wanted to do this story. Everybody's saying about how the NHS needs more people, more immigrants to be able to come in and be able to help them. If this is the help that they provide to people, then I'd rather have a nurse deliver me my baby. The tribunal cleared Dr. Laxman of misconduct and said her fitness to practice was not impaired. It ruled the decision to proceed with a natural birth was negligent and fell below the standards ordinarily to be expected, but did not amount to serious... What do you have to do then to be seriously misconducted in a medical practice? You have literally destroyed the baby. You have literally ripped apart the baby's legs, arms, torso, decapitated the baby, all while inside the room. How much more do you need to do for it to be a serious misconduct? Let me guess. Nick some money off the NHS. The panel's written decision said the failing which the tribunal has found proved was not sustained, persistent, or repeated. Nah, it wasn't repeated. Just the fact that she ripped 2 legs off, ripped 2 arms off, and then somehow managed to decapitate a poor child. Can you imagine if that was done actually on a bed? Yeah, me neither. But rather a single error of judgment made in very difficult circumstances. But you have procedures to go through, and she disobeyed the procedure and made it worse. Right, on that note, I'm going to come back to the chat and we can see what's going on and what people feel about this. Oh, yeah. So she could say goodbye. Yeah. That's it. The story's actually got me a little bit, which is I can't understand, just because I don't know. I don't actually understand on this point why this doctor is allowed to go back to work. I don't understand it. I have a theory. I do have a theory, and it has something to do with where she's come from. I will say that, and we'll be open about that. I don't see how decapitating a child, pulling the arms off and pulling the legs off of the torso, so to speak, is going to work at all as not being a serious form of misconduct. That in itself is just... What else do you have to do? Do you have to go out and burn the child afterwards for it to be a serious form of misconduct? Is that what you have to do? The thing is, I know, MC, you're actually making a joke. I do know you are. I really do. But that is true. That is what abortions are. They completely and utterly just destroy the baby in itself. But this was a delivery. And yet the actual doctor, which is probably used to doing abortions anyway, literally ripped apart this poor child and is now able to go back to work. I just don't think that it's great. I just can't see how that's even allowed. Would it be different if it was a white doctor? I wonder. Just as a question being thrown out there. I don't know. It's just weird on that one. I don't know where to go with that story. I really don't. I think that story is absolutely diabolical. Diabolical. And yet, us as a country, I know it's in Scotland, but us as the United Kingdom actually lets that happen. Exactly. I've never heard of anybody being able to go back to work either after a procedure that's happened like this. The fact is that this Dr. Laxman actually went against protocol, went against the hospital's protocol of when it's in a particular position as known as the breech position, which I now know it means that legs are first rather than the head, that you're supposed to give an emergency C-section. So I know that now, but she surely, as being a trained gynecologist, would know that she needs to do that. I don't know how that they can actually let this woman go to work. She should be struck off the medical register, not even allowed to work as a cleaner in a hospital. That's how strong I would feel about that. Where's the justice for the actual child and the family for the child? Where's the actual justice for that? Did they get compensation? I know people will go, well, that's a bit heartless. Well, no, I want to know. Did they get a form of compensation from it? Is there prosecution going ahead? Well, what's actually going on? Was it a case that they tried to hide it? These type of stories really piss me off, because when people go, oh, it's a case of, oh, the government does this and the government does that, and these are conspiracy theories. When you read stories like this and you read about the cover-up and then how quickly somebody can be reinserted into a different working environment just because it's a different hospital, doesn't mean that she's not going to do this again or would have it done again. It's one rule for one and one rule for another. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. I don't understand how she was cleared at all. I really don't. Though then again, I suppose it's completely and utterly in line with the rest of government in itself not looking after children. If you look at anything to do with the rape gangs that are going on, they really don't care about children, do they, at all? I was going to say let's go on to a lighter note, but everything is going to be an actual lighter note, I suppose, because at least nobody's dying. But let's go and move on to... what story was I looking at? Article 13. I'm sure anybody has been going on about this at this moment in time. I know Irate Bear's been going on about it. I know Computer Forever's been going on about it. I know Megagon's gone on about it as well. And I know that Count Bankler's gone on about it as well. But I just thought that we'd go through a BBC point And hopefully some people might be able to share not this video, but what I'm going to show you afterwards. And hopefully we'll be able to share that. And then after that, I'll release you of your captivity, so to speak. So memes, remixes, and other user-generated content would disappear online if the EU's proposed rules on copyright became law, warns experts. Meaning that most of the music channels, all of the social commentary channels, in fact, even reactionary channels, in fact, a hell of a lot of YouTube channels would just disappear overnight. Even the feminist channels would disappear overnight. And this is absolutely scary. The fact that a proposed bill can just be pushed straight in, then all of us have lost our rights to be able to express our forms of free will, express our forms of freedom of speech. But digital right groups are campaigning against the copyright directive, which the European Parliament will vote on later this month. The legislation aims to protect rights holders in the internet age. Well, yeah, but that was the process of fair use. The fact is that even when you do use fair use, if you overstep your market for some reason, for instance, if you use over, I think it's over a minute of music, or even in some cases particular words that are in music, that's it. The whole stream's gone, the whole video's gone. You use anything from the BBC, gone. You use anything from particular channels, gone. But, you know, it's protecting the rights of the holders in the internet age. You mean it's stopping people like myself and other people like Count Dankula proving the fact that governments in themselves, not necessarily covering things up, but are bending the truth a little bit and not telling you exactly what's going on. And the propaganda can then be produced and pushed even to a higher degree. You don't have people counteracting it with actual logic and actual links to the logic they're using. Because remember, that means that you wouldn't be able to use an article like this from the BBC to even be able to do a live stream, because you'd be using their copyrighted material to create your copyrighted material. Oh, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But critics say it misunderstands the way people engage with the web content and risk excessive censorship. The copyright directive is an attempt to reshape copyright for the internet, in particular, rebalancing the relationship between copyright holders and online platforms. Article 15 states that platform providers should take measures to ensure the functioning of agreements concluded with right holders for the use of their works. Critics say this will, in fact, require all internet platforms to filter all content put online by users, which many believe would be an excessive restriction on free speech. But you know, who gives a fuck? It's just free speech. We don't need that for anything, do we? This is also concern that the proposal will rely on algorithms, because we now know how great algorithms are on YouTube, so that's obviously going to work really well throughout the whole of the internet, isn't it? That will be programmed to play safe and delete anything that creates a risk for the platform. In other words, this stream would probably be a risk for the platform, as I've used 5 different stories so far that would be classified as using copyrighted material. So this stream would be deleted straight away. So that's great. A campaign against Article 13, copyright for creativity, said that the proposals could destroy the internet as we know it. I wonder if they already knew what they were doing when they did this. I'll give you a guess on what I think on that. But I'm sure it's just a theory, guys. It's just a theory. Should Article 13 of the Copyright Directive be adopted, it will impose widespread censorship of all the content you share online, it said. It is urging users to write their MEP or their member of European Parliament ahead of the vote on the 20th of June, which I have linked it in the description box below. It is linked, so please, if you want to do that, please do that. I will be showing you it after this, but I wanted to get the story out there first. Jim Killock, Executive Director of the UK's Open Rights Group, told the BBC Article 13 will create a robo-copyright regime where machines zap anything they identified as breaking copyright rules, despite legal bans on laws that require general monitoring of users to protect their privacy. So they're breaking the law to make sure that we're not breaking the law. Yep, to be fair, that sounds like government in itself, doesn't it? Don't do what we do, but do what we say. Unfortunately, while machines can spot duplicate uploads of Beyonce's songs, they can't spot parodies, understand memes that use copyright images, or make any kind of cultural judgment about what creative people are doing. We see this all too often on YouTube already. A great example of what algorithms already do. So the fact of they're not just targeting the alt-right or right-leaning people or social commentators with their own views anymore. They're now going after trans activists. They're now going after people that promote Islam and religions of some descriptions. So it's not a case that it's going after one point. It's now a case of they're all being censored. There is no way that you can actually do anything anymore without being censored on YouTube. And now it's the case for Europe anyway, because America will be fine, luckily for them, because they're not part of the EU. And a lot of people go, oh, but we're leaving the EU. Yeah, but it's going to happen while we're still in it, which means that we have to accept and ratify all the points that happen until we actually physically leave. So, yeah, we still have to follow this rule, unfortunately, not unless it's voted out, which I don't see it happening, to be fair. And to that, the EU wants to apply the Robocop approach to extremism, hate speech, and anything else they can get away with. Once they put in place for copyright, this would be disastrous. The Electronic Frontier Foundation and 56 other rights organizations set an open letter to the European lawmakers in October outlining their concerns about Article 13. Article 13 appears to provoke such legal uncertainty that online services will have no other option than to monitor, filter, and block EU citizens' communications if they are to have any chance of staying in business, it read. I'm not going to carry on. I think everybody can actually grasp what the situation is, the fact that you would need links for absolutely everything. The actual place that I'm actually going to be showing you, you can actually end up phoning them to actually be able to do it. So it's actually quite interesting. They don't just have the links to the MEPs and everything else like that. Unfortunately, because we're in the EU still, and even when we actually physically leave it around about this time next year, it's a case of no, we can't, because we are still staying under an implementation period. And while we're in that implementation period, we're still going to have to follow the rules and technically be ratifying the rules that still happen. Because nothing changes until we actually leave from the implementation period. So, yay on that one. Unfortunately, my friends, that's the reason why the title of this is A Cat's Dream Might Die. I think a lot of YouTubers from Europe and then that sort of area would unfortunately probably end up not being able to go through with it. Not unless all of the internet people and people that are creative, which there's a hell of a lot of us, obviously. I think there's something like a billion people on YouTube, something stupid like that. And it's a case of if you even get half of that, a quarter of that being from the European Union, and all of them actually deciding that they're going to phone up their MEPs and get in contact with their MEPs and actually tell them, no, we don't want it, as well as the other companies as well, mind you. Maybe there's a chance of actually stopping it, so to speak. But since the ideas of voting to be able to change our own paths, and yet still, we still can't decide when we're going to leave and how we're going to leave because we're still being dictated to. It's nice. It's nice. Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, globalization, you make a really good point. But the thing is, with the media, yeah, they're going to need to pay for the links. But they also know that they're not going to have people like me and people like you and people like Dankula coming back out and actually refuting the stories that they're making. So think of it, for instance, of stories from The Guardian or Francesca Ramsey, for instance. If they just have to pay something like a £5 or a £10 or even £50 to make sure that their link's completely and utterly copyrighted, and remember, it'll be their link first, then why would it matter how many other people buy their link off of them? Because remember, it's going to work both ways. When you make your own link, then you're still going to get people pay you to be able to get your link. I don't know. I mean, that's a very interesting point, actually. When it comes to the point of newspapers, for instance, does that mean that they have to have a law for selling the newspapers? As in, they have to buy the links for the newspaper? And if it doesn't apply to the shops for selling it, does that mean that I could do a video recording of what I've bought and do it that way instead? Possibly. Which means going back to the old school of doing things. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know on that one. Right. Well, it's coming up to 22:11. Well, it is 22:11. I'm going to show you this actual point, which is saveyourinternet.eu, which I have actually linked in the description box below. But this is what we can use as European citizens, I believe, to actually be able to possibly save us. I say that with pure skepticism, without the TM. I'm not 100% sure that we're going to be able to save anything. But this is what the actual site looks like. It doesn't look too great. But you have straight away at the top, you have your free links. You have email your MEP. You have call your MEP. Well, actually, probably an EMP would actually probably be more beneficial straight over Strasbourg. Not endorsing terrorism. Not endorsing. And you got, obviously, tweet your MEP, which, as we all know, is just not going to go anywhere on that one. But going down is just little bits and pieces that you can do, find out what's going on. How is the internet awesome and things like that. It leads you with templates. So if you've got emails, your email address and things like that, you can go further down. It has templates of what you're already going to do. Add your voice. Never mind. And you just have that type of thing there. So it's a case of, if you want to do something, then this is something that you could do to actually do it. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what would happen. But then again, if you're going to believe in any sort of form of democracy, you have to be able to fill in the power for people power. I think it would be quite interesting. Maybe we should all be, well, actually, it's just been said in the chat. Maybe we should learn from Russia and just leave the EU completely and utterly. But that's what I would say on that one. I'm not 100% sure on what we can and what we cannot do at this moment in time. But if everybody wants to, there's a link in the description box for that, which is saveyourinternet.eu. If you wouldn't mind passing that on, then that would be absolutely amazing. I'm not sure where my co-host has gone. I assume that his internet is probably down, unfortunately. So that leaves me to end the show, unfortunately. Yeah, you're absolutely correct there, Ain't Jack. You're absolutely correct there. I'm actually going to end the stream here. I'm going to give my quick final word. and then I'm going to bid you adieu. There's a lot of stories on here that we've done today, a lot of them. And to be fair, nothing has actually touched me more. Nothing has actually made me more angrier. I even mean when I was doing the Telford stuff and rape gangs in general. Nothing has hurt me more. Nothing has angered me more. Nothing has enticed such feelings in me more than what that doctor, that gynecologist did to that poor baby, of literally ripping the baby apart, limb by limb, and still getting a job at the end of it. As Jensen Quinn said in the chat, she should at least get manslaughter. It was by her lead that they decided to go against protocol. And let's be honest, protocol is put there for a reason. Yes, it may not always be the most glamorous of things, and yes, red tape's not always great, but protocol there is for people's safety and it's there for a reason. And if people don't follow protocol, they should be beholden to the protocol. If you're going to put things in place, then people should be following it. And if they're not following it, then they should absolutely be sacked. Just because that you're a doctor, just because that you're a gynecologist that's trying to help give birth to a particular person, doesn't give you the right to be able to say, oh, it was just a mistake. You had protocols in place. You had reasons to follow. I think we can all take a little page out of that book and realize that, yes, protocols are not always the best for everything and not always the best for everybody. But following it as a basis, maybe we should look at that more often. Even though that all of us want to fight against the system, even though all of us generally want to do things our own way and think that we know better than everybody else. And yes, I'll even admit to that in myself. Even I think that I know better than other people. Surprise. But there's a reason why protocols and laws are put into place. And if we don't follow the laws, then we should be punished due to the laws. I just think that it should be applied equally, like a sandwich. It should be applied equally, because if you have something on one side, then the whole sandwich falls apart. It literally just caves. For me, I just don't know what to say on that one, because I'm just so surprised that a doctor's able to get back straight away, and the actual tribunal themselves, which I bet you was too scared about being called racist, so they let them get back on, let the board let the doctor back on. Right. Okay then, people. I think I've rambled on for long enough. Oh, hello, Ogre. Are you back?
Sorry, man. I was honest to goodness. I was just firing up my phone and to see if I could get on here. I hate to, because this would be like the fourth time. I just left you hanging. It seems like my internet service provider likes to wait till Friday. And because here's the deal. They're open from 9 to 5 Monday through Wednesday, and then 8 to 4 on Friday. That's it. So at 4 o'clock on Friday, if the internet goes down, you can call them all you want, but it's just a message until Monday.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, I'm sure you're probably done. I'm sorry about that, mate. You sold your dawn. I don't know. You're sure how long it's been. Believe me, I've been running around pulling what I can't pull the hair out of my head, so I was pulling it out of my beard.
No, I was just literally doing a final word. I was literally just about to sign off. So what we can do is, if you do your normal sign off for a change, and I'll end it as soon as you do your final sign off when you're done your final word.
Yeah, very short time. So because I don't even know what Common Sense said, I just want to thank Common Sense as always. It's been a wonderful journey that I've been on here. Believe it or not, for me, it's been wonderful. Not things that are wonderful aren't always the greatest thing in the world. So let me say this. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for having me, Common Sense. And let's use the same measure for other people we want used for us. So I don't have any love for Angela Merkel, okay? But I don't think it's cool that you know, there was the DOJ, Barack Obama's, whatever it was. This thing happened. I'm not cool with it. Whoever's fault it was. I don't like some of the things that Trump does, and I should be able to say it, but I don't like some of the things that Obama did. I should be able to say that. Let's calm down the racist rhetoric. Let's calm down the ad hominem rhetoric. Let's go back to, what are your ideas? Maybe I disagree with them, maybe I don't. If we could do that, we would go a little bit further to make humanity a better being and to make the world a better place to be. So remember, folks, be good to your friends, be good to your family members, be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because, constant viewers, my beloved common sense guy, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life, and your beloved quart of cider will depart from you.